Alright, so in order to keep my hopes of getting 175 games correct on the season, I had to get at least 13 right last week. Let's see how close I got. Alright, I'm just gonna go ahead and wipe my ass with this season. So it's week 18 now, which is usually the wackiest week when it comes to predicting games because the top dog teams are resting their starters. The bad teams are pulling out all their tricky plays, putting in new players, seeing how shit shakes up, all kinds of shit. It's usually the wackiest week. I wouldn't be surprised if I don't even get a positive record at the end of this. As for the late upload, guys, there's no Thursday night football, so it's not like I had to get it up before Thursday. And also, I just wanted to make sure I had all the right info to provide before, the start of the week. For example, if I had posted at my normal time, I wouldn't have known that Phillip Rivers has already retired again. Yes, Phillip Rivers is gone. He's out of here. So yeah, I'm only late 'cause I'm just trying to make sure I have all the info needed for this video. Nothing to do with how badly I procrastinate, come on. But because it's week 18, that means there's a handful of games that have absolutely no impact on the upcoming postseason. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna speed run through those worthless games that we really don't care about, get those out of the way, and then we'll proceed with the rest of the more relevant games as if it was one of the, a normal video. So let's get started. Cowboys versus Giants. Now, despite completely whipping the Raiders' asses last week, the Giants, I see them getting their asses whipped by the Cowboys this game, and they should so that they can have some higher quality draft picks for the upcoming draft. Saints versus Falcons. The Falcons managed to upset the Rams, though they almost blew a fat-ass lead in classic Atlanta fashion. They're going against the Saints, who have not beaten the Falcons in Atlanta in quite some time, so I got the Falcons keeping the streak going and winning this game. Browns versus Bagels. It was unfortunately a pretty underwhelming year for Shedeur Sanders due to the lack of opportunities given to him to show what he can do, but what we have seen from him has been promising, to say the least. As for the two teams, the Bagels have been dominating the Cleveland Browns for the past few years now, so I got them doing that again this game. Titans versus Jaguars. Cam Ward, much like Shedeur Sanders, despite the atrocious performance by his team overall, he himself had a great rookie season and has shown lots of promise for the upcoming future. But as far as this matchup, it's a confirmed playoff team versus a confirmed not playoff team. And it would genuinely be helpful if the Jaguars won this game. It would be beneficial for both teams. There should be no reason the Titans win here. Absolutely none. It would be fucking both teams over if that happened. Chiefs versus Raiders in Vegas. It's been a while since we've seen the Chiefs in a tank bowl. I didn't think the day would come this early. But despite how horrible the Chiefs look right now, the Raiders proved that they are more dominant in sucking ass, with getting their fucking hams smoked by the Giants last week. Or what I thought was a shittier team, if not equally as shit, which also became the Raiders' 10th consecutive loss. I'm gonna pick the Chiefs to win this game. And if they don't beat a Raiders team that has lost 10 games in a row, then let that show you just how hard the Chiefs have fallen off this year. Dolphins versus Patriots. The Patriots completely fucking incinerated the Jets, and I see them doing the exact same thing to Miami this game. And then the Redskins versus the Eagles in Philadelphia. Now, despite their win over Buffalo last week, that doesn't mean the Eagles did not have yet another abysmal offensive performance, because that is exactly what they did. They looked horrible. But fortunately, they're taking on a Redskins team who's more down bad than just about anybody right now, so I got Eagles winning this one too. Alright, now that we got the fodder out the way, let's get into the more intriguing games that'll most likely impact the outcome of the postseason games. First game of the week on Saturday, you got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Panthers in Carolina. The battle for the division title of the trash-ass NFC South. The Panthers continue to fucking blow my mind with how abysmal they play, at least on offense. Last week against Seattle, they weren't expected to beat Seattle, but they were at least expected to put up a fight, which they did not. They absolutely did not put up any type of fight. Well, I mean, their defense put up a solid fight, kind of keeping Seattle at bay, but their offense offense could not capitalize to save their lives. They didn't even finish the game with 150 total yards, only averaging 2.7 yards per play. On top of that, they've seen third down 11 times that game and only converted once. One single third down conversion that entire game. That is how bad the Panthers offense was last week. But the Buccaneers offense wasn't a whole lot better. They had 3 turnovers that game and barely cracked 50 yards on the ground. Despite Baker Mayfield throwing for just damn near 400 yards, he was doing his thing. Tampa's offense just could not get going. It just did not look fluent. Neither of these offenses looked good at all last week, and really the back half of the year. Well, not so much the Panthers, but point being, these are 2 very poor offenses here. These are 2 evenly matched teams, but I'm going to give the slight edge. I'm going to give my vote to the Carolina Panthers because I feel like they've been a better home team with the exception of last week. But lately, I just feel like they've had a bit more heart and fight in their performances than the Buccaneers, who have just completely collapsed since the halfway of the season. And in the last handful of games, I feel like the Panthers have taken on some much better opponents, as well as beating some actually better opponents. So I feel comfortable rocking with Carolina to win this game and make the playoffs for the first time since Cam Newton was under center or in shotgun, what have you. Later that day on Saturday Night Football, you got the game of the week. I don't want to hear no Ravens versus Steelers, no, because those are not going to be Super Bowl teams. These are 2 potential Super Bowl teams going against each other in Santa Clara. 49ers defending against the Seahawks. The winner of this game will secure the number 1 seed in the NFC and secure a first-round bye week. And God, I hope it's the 49ers because the Seahawks just do not look like a first-seeded team by any means. And I guess the 49ers don't either. But after seeing all of their injuries throughout mostly the first half of the season, as well as the more entertaining matchups, more entertaining games they've participated in throughout the year, it would just be much more pleasant to see the Niners atop of the conference than Seattle. So like I said, Seattle took on Carolina last week, and they didn't look great by any means. It wasn't till, the fourth quarter where they started to kind of take off, but up until that point, they were kind of held down by Carolina. Meanwhile, San Francisco is the complete opposite of that. They were hot. They were electric in their matchup against the Bears, which was the game of the year, in my opinion. 49ers pulled out a victory in an epic shootout against Chicago, where Brock Purdy and many others just fucking went off that game. Defense was pretty concerning, obviously, letting up 38 points. You never want to see that. But in their defense, they were taking on a pretty clever and tricky Bears offense. Now they'll be taking on a very underwhelming Seattle offense that they actually held down once earlier in the season, way back in week 1. And in week 1, the 49ers did end up overtaking the Seahawks in Seattle in a very defensive matchup in a seemingly weaker state. This was back when they were going through some injuries, including George Kittle, who will be playing in this game. I wouldn't be surprised if the Seahawks managed to pull this one out, but I'm about 90% sure that the 49ers will come away with this one. Even though these 2 teams are pretty evenly matched on paper, I just feel like the 49ers have been more electric and more clutch than the Seahawks this year. And of course, going back to week 1, even though it was a while ago, they did manage to take down the Seahawks again in a weaker state than they're in now. And on top of that, I just want the 49ers to win. So yeah, go San Francisco. Next up, the Indianapolis Colts will be taking on the Houston Texans. I probably could have put this game in the speed run category because one team's out of the playoffs and another team is in the playoffs, no matter what. But I've already done some research on these teams, so I may as well go over them. But yeah, the Indianapolis Colts have been eliminated from playoff contention. Phillip Rivers couldn't even lead this trash-ass team to a victory in his short return to the league, and unfortunately, he's going to be riding off into the sunset without adding another win to his name. The Colts' offense was just too pitiful these last couple of months, with the exception of Phillip Rivers. Again, he was cooking. For a 44-year-old who hasn't played in 5 years, he did his thing. He was absolutely not the problem. He was actually a bright spot in Indianapolis, and to be honest. But other than him, there's just nothing about the team looks right. The offense ain't great. The defense definitely ain't great. The defense has been pitiful lately. And they got folded and dropped by their division rivals, the Jacksonville Jaguars, ending their season. This Riley Leonard dude will be starting for the Colts. Never heard of him before this, but hey, better start learning who he is, I guess. They'll be taking on the Texans, whose defense is the best in the league as we approach the end of the year. They managed to hold down the Chargers, which isn't the greatest feat you can possibly achieve because the Chargers are just inconsistent. They're fucking weird. We got one team that's on a 6-game losing streak and another team that's on an 8-game winning streak. Quite honestly, I don't think I need to say anything else. The Texans should win this game. Next, the Packers will be taking on the Vikings. The Packers got fucking thrashed by the Baltimore Ravens run game, and now they're going to be taking on another purple team who won their game last week mostly on the ground. And also a great defense. Also, apparently the Vikings got eliminated from playoff contention before my last video, and I didn't notice because I'm stupid. But it's okay, Vikings. I'm gonna still give y'all a proper funeral. Great defense by Minnesota last week, but their offense was not great. Their run game was passable. It was mediocre. And their pass game was non-existent, and I mean that quite literally. And they have a chance to take down their most hated rivals. It won't kick Green Bay out of the playoffs. They're secured. They're in no matter what. But they would like to, get that sweet taste of victory over their arch nemesis. And the Vikings do tend to get one off on the Packers at least once a year. So I'm gonna pick Minnesota to win this one. Very bold take, but hey, it's week 18. I already told you. It doesn't matter. I'm not reaching my fucking goal, even if I somehow went 16-0. So does it really matter who I vote here? I got the Vikings winning. Next, the LA Justin Herbert will be taking on the Broncos in Denver. Once again, another game where it just looks like Justin Herbert versus the opposing team. I'm tired of seeing this dude get sacked repeatedly, running for his life, leading the team in rushing. He's quite literally doing it all. I'm surprised he hasn't caught his own pass this season. They'll be taking on the Broncos, who held down a pretty battered Chiefs offense, so nothing really to brag about there. And it's being played in Denver, so I automatically feel inclined to vote for the Broncos here. On top of that, their defense is top 3 in the league right now, so that will really give LA some problems. The outcome of this game doesn't matter too much because both of these teams have been secured playoff spots, so, they're in regardless. But I will say, I don't think I'm going to be able to take the Chargers seriously because they just cannot beat a defense that's even remotely solid. They struggled against the Texans, couldn't really do a whole lot there. The Chargers have beaten the Broncos earlier this season, but that was before a very solid defense had been developed, so we'll see what they do against the Broncos now that, again, that defense is fully developed and looking solid. But I'm going to stick with Denver to win this one. I believe too much in their defense and their stamina advantage in their home field. Arizona Cardinals versus the LA Rams. The Cardinals, don't worry about them. The Rams, Monday Night Football, lost to the Atlanta Falcons. In that first half, the Rams were on their knees, gagging, choking, blowing bubbles on it. They looked like shit that game. They were getting abused that game in the first half. I don't care that they came back and damn near won it. They didn't win it. So what does the comeback matter? Once again, the Rams just unable to play for 4 quarters of the goddamn football game. I think the Rams might actually be allergic to playing for 60 minutes in a game. They just can't do it. They just cannot do it. They have to rely on a certain portion of the game to carry them through the entirety of the game. Fortunately, though, they're taking on a Cardinals team that you don't even really need to play all 60 minutes to beat. But this ain't even really about the Cardinals. This is about, can the Rams just fucking play consistently throughout the whole game? Can they? Even against a bottom of the barrel team that's well gone in the playoffs, trying to tank for higher quality draft picks. Obviously, I got the Rams winning. The question is, should I feel good about that? This is a team that was supposed to be the best in the league at one point, and they're taking on a bottom of the barrel team, like I said. They should drop 50 on the Cardinals. I mean, I know they're going to be resting some guys, but still, I know your starters are going to get some play time. I know you still have, it's still coach versus coach. Better scheme versus worse scheme. There should be no reason this game is even remotely close. Next, the New York Jets will be taking on the Buffalo Bills. The Jets got absolutely fucking godsmacked by the Patriots. I mean, what did you think was going to happen? But I'm left wondering, did the Jets play worse than the Bills last week? Because the Bills only put up 12 points against the Philadelphia Eagles at home. And Josh Allen did not look great that game at all, if I'm being honest. Last time these two teams faced off, I picked the Jets to win, which was really fucking stupid. It was on my thumbnail and everything. But just like with the Rams, how seriously should I take the Bills? You should be able to stomp the Jets out. It should be like a minimum of a 17-point difference on the final scoreboard. I'm just really curious as to what's stopping the Bills this postseason, because there's no Chiefs, there's no Bengals. So what's the problem? The AFC this year is full of a bunch of inexperienced teams and not great teams. I do think Buffalo will win, but their performance tonight is something that we got to keep an eye on. Next up, the Bears will be defending against the Lions, who got eliminated from playoff contention after getting swept by the Vikings somehow. My mind refuses to process the fact that the Lions season came to an end to a team with 3 motherfucking pass yards all game. And their 6-piece combo of turnovers did not help shit. Meanwhile, the Bears also lost, but they put up a motherfucking fight against the 49ers. They lost a thriller, a shootout, I tell you. A loss that I don't think Bears fans should even really be upset about. Not only was it well hard fought by your team, it was also very entertaining. Top 5 game easily of the year. Now, it did cut out their chances of getting the number 1 seed in the NFC, but I seriously hope Bears fans weren't aiming for the number 1 seed in the conference. There is really nothing to point out with the Bears' loss. It almost didn't even feel like a loss for Chicago. The fight that Chicago had in their offense is exactly what you want to see in your team in late December with the playoffs right around the corner. So really, as long as the Bears come with that energy this next game, they should be able to beat the Lions. And lastly, the final regular season game, the Baltimore Ravens versus the Steelers in Pittsburgh. Some people are calling this the game of the week, which I just don't see how. Sure, the game itself might be great and entertaining, but as far as the winning team, I don't see either franchise making it past the second round if they do the first. Last week, the Ravens made like a cheese grater and fucking shredded the Packers for over 300 yards on the ground. Most of that came from Derrick Henry, but Tyler Huntley played a nice role in that too. But I'm 200% sure that run game won't be nearly as successful against Pittsburgh, who doesn't get ran on like that really ever. Especially not by Baltimore, who they do know how to beat. But Pittsburgh's coming off of a performance stinkier than my boxers, since I haven't showered since last year. But if you look at the Steelers on paper or even watch the highlights from the surface, it looks like they're doing fine. I don't really understand where it went wrong for them. Oh, there's the culprit right there. They were too busy sucking cock on third downs. Only the Steelers could put up 300 total yards in a game and still score no touchdowns. So the way these games usually go is, well, first of all, they never exceed 50 points. These are always low-scoring games between these two teams. But it's usually a defensive shootout. Very bloody battle, dominated by both defenses. And I imagine both defenses will be even more brutal this game because the winner of this game is in the playoffs and they win the AFC North. I'm going to pick the Ravens to win this game for 2 key reasons, and they both have to do with player status. For one, Lamar Jackson will be in this game for the Ravens. 2, Darnell Washington, big man tight end for the Steelers, is out for not just this game, but for the rest of the season if they do win here. 2 huge differences for both teams, I feel like. And on top of that, I just feel like the Steelers never win when they need to the most. For the past decade or so now, they've done just good enough to barely get a winning record, or at the very least, a 500 record, and then they just stop. I don't get it. I don't know why, but that's what they keep doing. They keep doing it. And then they either don't make the playoffs, or they do, and then lose in the first round. So I just feel like the Ravens wanted a little bit more. I got them winning this game. Now, I know I've talked a lot of shit about this season when it came to predictions, because when it came to predicting a lot of these games, it has been pretty trash. It has been incredibly inconsistent. But from a viewing standpoint, actually watching these games and just being entertained, which is the most important thing as a fan, This has been one great season. It was one of the better seasons in, the last while. There's usually one or two teams from either conference that you could just say, they're going to the Super Bowl. So, you kind of have an idea of what the final game is going to look like. This season, you really don't. It really looks like this season, this postseason is up for grabs, like anybody can win it. And that's the reason I've been so frustrated with these prediction videos this year, because I just couldn't fully enjoy it because I'm too busy being upset about these teams losing games that they shouldn't be losing, all because I picked them to win. And it's not even like I have money on the line, so I should have just chilled out from the start. But yeah, other than that, this has been one fantastic and very entertaining season, and I cannot wait for the postseason.